Hi everyone, I'm Ken from CryptoTradingKS and BORSOG Trader. If you're new, welcome, and welcome back KS family and the BORSOG clan. Today I'm going to talk about Mt Gox. There's been a lot of news floating around, but we use Rule 173 as crypto technical analysts. Be independent from the news. It's very easy for people to read the news and just take the headlines and then go and act on that. For example, Mt Gox creditors inch closer to repayment as Bitcoin dump looms. Ay caramba! Japanese trustee of Mt Gox held close to 142,000 Bitcoin. And what's going to happen? Well, by the headline, a Bitcoin dump. But that's just one news service. What about this? Bitcoin faces Mt Gox Black Swan. Oh no, we've got a Black Swan and a dump. As trustee prepares to unlock 150,000 Bitcoin. Hang on a second. They're two different numbers. Oh, okay. We've got 142,000 Bitcoin. And now it's 150,000? Where'd that extra Bitcoin come from? And let's look at a few more. Will release of 3 billion in Bitcoin from Mt Gox cause market bottom in August? Whoa! 137,000 Bitcoin now. It's jumping around like crypto. What about this? 141,886 Bitcoin. 3 billion. And what is it saying? Mt Gox creditors could increase Bitcoin selling pressure. And you notice what they've done here. Once the coins are sold, this could affect Bitcoin prices, which have slid sharply in recent months. Amongst the Terra blockchain collapse, crypto companies such as hedge fund 3 Arrows Capital filing for bankruptcy. So they're basically pulling in Mt Gox, Terra, and 3 Arrows Capital. Wow, I think I better go sell my Bitcoin. Hang on a second. Why don't we just dig a little bit further into this? And what is this one? Bitcoin now braced for a Black Swan shock after 2 trillion Terra Luna led Ethereum crash. Okay, the repayment could mean up to, hang on a second, 150,000 Bitcoin, currently worth 3 billion. How many Bitcoin does this trustee have? When I was lecturing first and second year statistics, I would often have to put media studies in front of my students and say, can you please analyze this? Tell me what's wrong with it. And a lot of times the media would leave axes off. They would cut the axis and do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. They'd misrepresent data. So what are we expecting? We're expecting the Mt Gox trustee balance to be 150,000. What is it? Hang on a second. It's 137,890.98034,518. Well, that's a little bit different from what the news sources are telling us. Always go to the source data. This is why you need to impose Rule 173. When you read a headline, be independent from the news. Go and source out the source data. This has all come to the forefront because on July the 6th, 2022, we had this letter from the trustees about the rehabilitation claiming. And I won't go through all of this. I've already read it, so I'll just tell you the basics. The concept is they're saying, get ready. And what's the get ready for? Get ready and file your details. Hey, guess what? There's another hidden thing here. Just because you actually file your details doesn't mean that you get automatically approved. You can get disallowed from the rehabilitation funding. This is something that a lot of people are not talking about. And if we look at the repayment, remember, I've gone straight to the source. When is the deadline to register or not re-register? Notice that a specific deadline has not yet been set. As you go through all of these and expand them, it says it time and time and time again. A specific deadline has not been set. A specific deadline has not been set. But there is one deadline that has been set. It's this particular one. You must put your claim in by the end of August 2022. Note that legal things can take a lot of time to play out, and this certainly has taken an enormous amount of time to play out. And if we go actually to the Mt Gox website, always check source data. If we go to the Mt Gox website, I'm just going to go all the way to the bottom here. Look at this. It started on the 28th of February 2014. This has been going for many, many years. From reading these news headlines, now you know basically what they're representing in the headlines is not exactly correct in terms of the total number. The total number of Bitcoin is 137,890. If you hear any other number aside from this number, you know that you're dealing with someone that does not do research. And this is really common. A lot of people just don't do their research. And when we're looking at somebody saying, okay, 150,000, we know it's not that number. What are they actually saying? What's the concept behind this? The concept is pretty simple. There's going to be about $3 billion worth of Bitcoin hitting the market. And these particular news headlines didn't say after the end of August it would be hitting. They were like saying, no, it's going to hit today. It's going to hit right now. That's what a lot of people would have thought when they read these headlines. The end of August is the end of the rehabilitation claim period. What does this basically mean from a legal perspective? It means that late August is late August, then the wheels will start moving, probably in early September. So the question is it $3 billion is going to hit the market? Well, not necessarily. Actually, WizSec put out a fantastic calculator. I'm just going to go through this, and it's a Mt. Gox payout guide and calculator. It's a lot of information in here. I'm going to go all the way down to their calculator. I've read all that information. It's really, really interesting. If you want to search it out, just go to WizSec and have a look at it. But we'll just actually go down to the calculator and let's have a look. Pretend we had all of this, all of those Bitcoins. I think this is where people get a little bit messed around because they just say, well, if I have my Bitcoin that I had in Mt. Gox, for example, why don't we take the whole amount? And you know this is the correct amount because it's from Glassnode. They've done the on-chain data analytics. They know how much Mt. Gox has. So this is the full amount. Now, what is the payout? Let's go through it. What are we actually seeing here? I'll just go down a little bit further. So we're seeing that the payout will be 510 million. What happened to the 3 billion? I thought everybody was saying 3 billion. And now the calculator that's put together to help the victims of Mt. Gox says 510. And this is done in accordance with all the laws. And so what we're actually seeing is a huge divergence between what is being said and what is going to actually happen. So let's think about it. If the total balance of Mt. Gox's Bitcoin was translated at Bitcoin's price yesterday, which was 21,645.87, we'd have about $3 billion. We know that's not getting paid out now because the calculator says it's not. So how much is actually being paid out? About 17% of the value. We've got to go the next step and say how much of, for example, $510 million, how much could that move the market? So what I've done is to just go into Coin360 and look at the volume over the past 24 hours, which is $10.2 billion. And when we look at, for example, that 510 million, that's a 5% hit on daily volume. Note, this is daily volume. So even if all the creditors were paid out, and even if all of them sold Bitcoin at that particular time, 5%. But I do think all these negative headlines would have a very, very big impact on retail sentiment, not professional sentiment, retail sentiment. It would get a lot of people very, very scared. There's a massive difference between the retail mindset and the smart money mindset. The retail mindset is a roller coaster of emotion, literally a roller coaster. From optimism and thrill, euphoria, to anxiety, denial, panic, capitulation, back to hope. Around and around and around it goes. And it takes very little to move people in retail from optimism into panic. And these kind of headlines would do that very, very effectively. Is the media bad in some way? No, it's not bad at all. It just understands that sensational news is the only news. It uses Rule 189. But as crypto technical analysts, we understand these rules, so we don't buy into their fluff. As crypto technical analysts, we track price attention from investors, and we know that these kind of headlines would unravel a lot of investors. The potential downward price action that could occur inside the market would be as a result of fear of the unknown. Very, very few people actually just go to the source data and tell it how it is. And that's why we have so much up and down movement in the crypto market. There's too much hype and too much exaggeration. Of course, as a BORSOG community, we're just buying on red and selling on green. If we're getting massive volatility in the market, that's actually really helpful to us. But of course, our heart goes out to everybody and anybody who actually reads the news headlines and pays attention to it. The big unknown in this all is who gets the other 80% of the value. I would really love for our community to go and hunt down what that could be. What I found, and this may not be that representative, but for example, repayment amount may be deposited with the Tokyo Legal Affairs Bureau in accordance with laws and regulations. Is the Tokyo Legal Affairs Bureau getting the other 80%? Who is getting the other 80%? That's really, really unclear, and I don't think anybody's realistically looked into it as yet. So we can absolutely go with a worst case scenario. What if $3 billion worth of Bitcoin dumped in one day? Well, the normal volume is 10 billion, so it's still going to be absorbed very, very well, very easily. As crypto technical analysts, we're just aware of these things, but we use Rule 621. Buy on red, sell on green. Buy on red, BOR. Sell on green, SOG, BORSOG. The price eagle. That's what we do in these current market conditions. So if things get a little bit wonky, go up and down, we just actually use that to get on the right side of the percentage. So just a quick question. How do you feel about this Bitcoin dump looms? Or this Mt. Gox Black Swan as trustee prepares to unlock 150,000 Bitcoin now? Or how about this? Bitcoin now braced for a black swan, or could increase Bitcoin selling pressure. What is your feeling on this? I would really love to get your interpretation, because there are a lot of unanswered questions here. But in the worst case scenario, it doesn't really impact the market too much. Billions hitting Bitcoin, that's just another day at the office for Bitcoin. It does $10+ billion a day in volume, so having 3 billion hit it all at once would mean pretty much not much. But the truth is, behind the scenes, we know that the payout, it will only be about 20% at best. So if you think about that, that is not a lot of money hitting the markets and not a lot of selling pressure, because it accounts for so little, 5% of Bitcoin's volume on a day. And that particular day was a down day. That was a low volume day. Bitcoin can exceed that quite easily. I hope you've enjoyed this special video, and if you like this kind of content, please subscribe to the channel. We would love to have you as a part of our globally extended family. Have a great one out there, and I'll join you in the next video.